The docking bay of the research vessel Harmony was busy that morning. Crew members moved in all directions. Some carried equipment. Others checked data on their tablets. The ship was home to over 300 beings from 12 different species. But today, something unusual was happening. A human was arriving. Lyra stood near the observation window on the upper level. She watched the small transport ship connect to the Harmony. Her silver-blue fingers pressed against the cold glass. Her large dark eyes did not blink. She had studied humans for 3 years. She had read every report. She had watched every recording. But she had never seen one in person. Humans were new to the Galactic Union. They had only made contact with alien life 15 years ago. Before that, they lived alone on their planet called Earth. Most species in the Union found humans strange and a little frightening. Earth was what scientists called a death world. The gravity was strong. The weather was violent. The planet had earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, and volcanoes. Dangerous animals lived in every corner. Disease spread easily. And yet, humans had not only survived there, they had become the dominant species. Lyra belonged to the Velen people. Her kind had smooth silver-blue skin and large eyes that could see in darkness. Velens were empaths. They could feel the emotions of others like heat from a fire. This gift made them excellent researchers and diplomats, but it also made them sensitive. Strong emotions could overwhelm them. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. Lyra leaned forward. The human stepped out. He was not what she expected. He was average in height, with black hair cut short and neat. His skin was a warm tan color. His eyes were dark brown and calm. He wore the standard uniform of a Union engineer, gray and simple. He carried 2 bags, one over each shoulder. They looked heavy. A service drone floated toward him. "Welcome to the Harmony. May I carry your belongings to your quarters?" The human shook his head. "No, thank you. I can manage." Lyra tilted her head. The bags were clearly heavy. Why would he refuse help? She made a note in her mind. Humans were proud creatures. Or perhaps stubborn. She would need to learn more. The human's name was Kang Tae. She had read his file. He was 28 years old, which was young for most species but already 1/3 of a human lifespan. He had worked as an engineer on 3 different stations before this assignment. His performance reviews were excellent. He was described as quiet, skilled, and reliable. But files could not tell her everything. Files could not explain why humans fascinated the entire galaxy. Files could not explain why a species that lived such short lives had accomplished so much. Lyra reached out with her empathic sense. She wanted to feel his emotions. What she felt surprised her. Most beings had simple emotional signatures. Happy, sad, angry, tired, easy to read, like colors on a painting. But Kang Tae was different. His emotions were layered, one on top of another. She felt calmness on the surface, but beneath that, there was excitement. And beneath that, a small thread of sadness. And deeper still, something warm and steady that she could not name. How could one being feel so many things at once? Kang Tae looked up suddenly. His eyes found hers through the observation window. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Lyra felt her heart beat faster. Could he sense that she was watching him? That was impossible. Humans were not empaths. He gave her a small nod. A simple greeting. Then he turned and followed a crew member toward the living quarters. Lyra released a breath she did not know she was holding. She had to meet him. The rest of the day passed slowly. Lyra tried to focus on her work. She was studying plant samples from a newly discovered moon. But her mind kept returning to the human in the docking bay. She made mistakes in her notes. She forgot to label 2 containers. Her supervisor, a tall being with 4 arms named Tovik, noticed her distraction. "You seem unfocused today," Tovik said. His voice was deep and slow. "Is something troubling you?" "The new crew member," Lyra admitted. "The human." Tovik made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Ah. Yes, They are interesting creatures. Humans. I worked with one many years ago. Strange beings. They eat food that would poison most species. They sleep for 1/3 of each day. They heal from injuries that would kill others. And they feel emotions so strongly that it can be uncomfortable to be near them. You make them sound dangerous, Lyra said. Not dangerous, Tovik replied. Just intense. Like a star. Beautiful to observe. But get too close, and you might burn. Lyra thought about this warning. But it did not decrease her curiosity. If anything, it made her more eager to learn. That evening, she walked through the ship toward the engineering section. She told herself she was just exploring. She told herself she had no particular destination, but her feet carried her to the mechanical bay, where new engineers were assigned. She found Kang Tae alone. He was working on a broken cleaning drone. The small machine sat on a table, its parts spread out in neat rows. Tae's hands moved with precision. He did not look up when she entered, but she knew he was aware of her presence. Can I help you? He asked. His voice was calm and polite. I am Lyra, she said. I work in the xenobiology department. I wanted to welcome you to the Harmony. Now he looked up. His dark eyes studied her face. She felt him taking in details. Her silver skin. Her large eyes. The slight glow of her empathic markings on her temples. Thank you, he said. I am Kang Tae. But you probably already know that. Lyra felt her cheeks warm. Was she that obvious? I have read your file, she admitted. I study different species. Humans are new to me. Tae smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of his lips, but it transformed his face. He looked younger, warmer. So I am a subject of study? He asked. There was no anger in his voice, only amusement. I did not mean to offend, Lyra said quickly. I am not offended. Tae returned to his work on the drone. Everyone on this ship is curious about humans. You are just more honest about it than most. Lyra relaxed slightly. She watched him work. His hands were steady and sure. He found a broken wire and repaired it in seconds. The drone hummed back to life. You are skilled, she said. I have had practice. He wiped his hands on a cloth. On Earth, we learn to fix things ourselves. Resources are limited. If something breaks, you repair it. You do not throw it away. That is efficient, Lyra said. That is survival. Tae set the drone on the floor. It beeped happily and rolled away. Earth is not a gentle place. It taught us to be strong. Or we die. Lyra felt a chill run through her. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly. Life or death, no middle ground. I would like to learn more, she said. About humans, about you. Tae looked at her for a long moment. She could not read his expression. Then he nodded. Ask your questions, Lyra. I will answer what I can. And so it began. 3 days passed before Lyra found the courage to approach Kang Tae again. She had spent those days preparing. She read more files about humans. She practiced questions in her mirror. She even asked her colleague Tovik for advice. Just talk to him, Tovik had said. Humans appreciate directness. They do not like games or hidden meanings. So Lyra decided to be direct. She found Tae in the cafeteria during the midday meal. The large room was filled with crew members from many species. Some ate at long tables. Others preferred private corners. The air smelled of 100 different foods, some pleasant and some strange. Tae sat alone at a small table near the window. Before him was a tray of food that made Lyra stop and stare. There was a bowl of white grain. Beside it was a dish of red and orange vegetables, cut into small pieces, and next to that was something that made her stomach turn. Strips of brown meat, cooked over fire. Actual flesh from an animal. Most species in the Galactic Union ate synthetic nutrients. Small pills or paste that provided everything a body needed. It was clean, efficient, and simple. No living thing had to die. But humans were different. Humans ate real food. They cooked it, seasoned it, and seemed to enjoy the process. Lyra had read about this, but seeing it in person was something else entirely. She approached his table. "May I sit with you?" Tay looked up. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Lyra, the xenobiologist. Of course. She sat across from him. Her own tray held only nutrient paste. Pale, green, and tasteless. She tried not to look at his meat. "You are staring at my food," Tay said. He did not seem bothered. "I apologize. I have never seen a human meal before. Would you like to try some?" He pushed the tray slightly toward her. Lyra's eyes widened. I am not sure that would be safe for my biology. This might be." Tay pointed to the red and orange vegetables. "This is called kimchi. It is a traditional food from my homeland on Earth. Vegetables preserved through fermentation." "Fermentation?" Lyra repeated. "You mean rotted?" Tay laughed. It was a warm sound, unexpected and pleasant. "Not rotted. Fermented. It is a controlled process. Bacteria break down the vegetables and create new flavors. It is safe. Healthy. Even." Lyra stared at the kimchi. On her world, food that had been touched by bacteria was thrown away immediately. The idea of eating it on purpose seemed insane, but she was a scientist. Scientists took risks in the name of knowledge. She picked up a small piece with her utensil. It was bright red and smelled sharp and sour. She placed it in her mouth. The taste exploded across her tongue. Sour. Spicy. Salty. A dozen flavors she had no names for. Her eyes watered. Her nose burned. She grabbed her water container and drank half of it in one gulp. Tay watched her with amusement. "Too strong?" Lyra coughed. "It is. Very intense. Humans like intense flavors. We find bland food boring. I am beginning to understand that." Lyra wiped her eyes. But despite the burning in her mouth, she found herself curious. The taste was fading now, leaving behind something almost pleasant. "It is not entirely bad. Just surprising." Tay nodded. Most good things in life are surprising. They ate in silence for a moment. Lyra watched Tay consume his meal with obvious enjoyment. He chewed slowly, savoring each bite. For him, eating was not just fuel. It was an experience. "May I ask you something?" Lyra said. "You said you wanted to learn about humans. Ask anything. How much do you sleep?" Tay raised an eyebrow. An unusual first question. "About 8 hours each night. Sometimes more, sometimes less." Lyra nearly choked on her nutrient paste. 8 hours? That is 1/3 of your day. Yes. Humans need sleep to function. Without it, we become slow, confused, and eventually sick. "My species sleeps for only 2 hours, Lyra said. "We find it inefficient to waste more time than that." "I suppose it is inefficient," Tay agreed. "But sleep is not just rest for the body. It is rest for the mind. We dream during sleep. Our brains process the events of the day. We wake up refreshed, with new ideas and new energy." "You dream?" Lyra leaned forward. "What are dreams like?" Tay thought for a moment. "Hard to explain. They are like stories that your mind creates while you sleep. Sometimes they make sense. Sometimes they are strange and confusing. Sometimes they are beautiful. Sometimes they are frightening." "Frightening?" Lyra could not imagine voluntarily experiencing fear every night. "We call those nightmares. They are not pleasant. But even nightmares serve a purpose. They help us face our fears in a safe space." Lyra added this to her mental notes. Humans spent 1/3 of their already short lives unconscious, experiencing imaginary stories. And they considered this normal. "Your species is very strange," she said. "I could say the same about yours." Tay smiled. "You sleep only 2 hours. You eat paste instead of food. You have silver skin and can feel other people's emotions. From my perspective, you are the strange one." Lyra had not considered this. She was so focused on studying humans that she forgot she was equally foreign to them. That is a fair point, she admitted. Lyra. Tay set down his utensils and looked at her directly. Why are you really interested in humans? There are many researchers on this ship. None of them have approached me like you have. Lyra felt her cheeks warm. She was grateful that her silver skin hid blushes well. I do not know exactly, she said honestly. When I first saw you in the docking bay, I felt something. Your emotions were different from anything I had sensed before. Complex. Layered. I could not understand them, and I wanted to understand. Tay was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. Humans are complicated, he said. We feel many things at once. We can be happy and sad at the same time. We can love someone and be angry at them in the same breath. Our emotions do not follow simple rules. That sounds exhausting. It is, sometimes. Tay picked up his water and drank. But it also makes life rich. Every moment has depth. Every experience has meaning. We may not live as long as other species, but we feel every second of our lives. Lyra absorbed this. On her world, emotions were simple and controlled. Strong feelings were considered primitive. But Tay made human emotions sound like a gift, not a weakness. I have a proposal, she said. I wish to study you properly, to document human behavior and biology. In return, I will answer any questions you have about Velans. A fair exchange of knowledge. Tay considered this. You want me to be your research subject? I want you to be my teacher, Lyra corrected. Files and reports can only tell me so much. I want to understand humans through experience, through conversation, through friendship, Tay offered. The word hung in the air between them. Lyra had not thought of it that way. But yes, that was what she wanted. Yes, she said. If you are willing. Tay extended his hand across the table. Lyra looked at it, confused. It is a human greeting, he explained. A handshake. Take my hand and squeeze gently. Lyra reached out. Her silver fingers wrapped around his warm brown hand. His skin was surprisingly soft. She squeezed gently, and he squeezed back. We have a deal, Tay said. I will be your human teacher, and you will be my alien guide. Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. She did not release his hand immediately. The contact felt good. Natural. Perhaps Tovik was right. Perhaps humans were like stars, burning bright and hot. Perhaps getting close to one was dangerous, but Lyra had never been afraid of a little heat. Over the following weeks, Lyra and Tay met every day. Sometimes they talked in the cafeteria. Sometimes they walked through the ship's corridors. Sometimes they sat in the observation deck and watched the stars pass by. Each meeting revealed something new about humans. Lyra kept careful records. She filled 3 digital notebooks with observations, questions, and thoughts. But the more she learned, the more she realized how little she knew. One afternoon, she found Tay in the exercise room. She had never visited this part of the ship before. Velans did not need physical exercise. Their bodies maintained themselves naturally, but Tay was running. He was on a machine that moved beneath his feet while he stayed in place. His legs pumped steadily. Sweat covered his skin and soaked his shirt. His breath came in deep, regular gasps. A small screen showed numbers that Lyra did not understand. She watched him for several minutes before he noticed her. Lyra. He did not stop running. Give me 10 more minutes. She sat on a nearby bench and waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. Tay kept running. His face was red. His muscles must have been burning. But he did not stop. Finally, after 45 minutes, he pressed a button, and the machine slowed. He stepped off, grabbed a towel, and wiped his face. How long can you do that? Lyra asked. Today? About an hour. Maybe more. I am still building my endurance back up after the transfer. Lyra stared at him. An hour of continuous running? Some humans can run for much longer. There are competitions on Earth where people run for entire days without stopping. Days? Lyra could not hide her disbelief. That is impossible. No species can maintain physical activity for that long. Tay sat beside her on the bench. Humans can. It is one of our evolutionary advantages. We are not the fastest animals on Earth. We are not the strongest, but we can keep going longer than almost anything else. Our ancestors hunted by chasing prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Lyra tried to imagine this. A creature running and running, thinking it had escaped, only to see the humans still following. Never stopping. Never giving up. It was terrifying. Your species is frightening, she said. Tay laughed. We are just persistent. Give a human a goal, and they will pursue it until they succeed or die trying. Some people think that is our greatest strength. Others think it is our greatest weakness. Lyra added this to her notes. Humans were persistence hunters. They did not quit. The next secret revealed itself 3 days later. Tay was working in the mechanical bay when a piece of equipment slipped from his hand. The sharp edge cut across his palm, leaving a deep gash. Blood flowed freely, bright red against his tan skin. Lyra happened to be visiting at that moment. She gasped and rushed forward. You are injured. We must get you to the medical bay immediately. Tay looked at his hand calmly. It is fine. Just a cut. You are bleeding significantly. Humans bleed a lot. It looks worse than it is. He walked to a supply cabinet and pulled out a small box. Inside were bandages and cleaning supplies. He washed the wound, applied a clear gel, and wrapped his hand in white cloth. The whole process took less than 2 minutes. You should see a doctor, Lyra insisted. For this? No need. It will heal on its own. How long? Tay shrugged. A week, maybe 2. Depends on how deep it is. Lyra was shocked. A wound like that would take a Velen 2 months to heal completely. Even with medical treatment, the process would be slow and careful. Your bodies repair themselves that quickly? Usually faster when we are young. Slower as we age. Tay flexed his bandaged hand. Humans heal from almost anything, given time. Broken bones, torn muscles, damaged organs. Our bodies are constantly rebuilding themselves. Lyra thought about her own people. Velens were careful creatures. They avoided danger because injuries were serious problems. A single accident could affect them for years, but humans walked through life collecting scars and recovering from them. They were built to be broken and fixed, over and over again. Show me the cut in 1 week, she said. I want to document the healing process. True to his word. 1 week later, Tay removed the bandage. The deep gash had become a thin, pink line. New skin had grown over the wound. It was not fully healed, but it was close. Amazing, Lyra whispered. She touched the new skin gently. It was warm and slightly raised. Your body rebuilt itself. Every human body does this. It is nothing special to us, but it was special. It was incredibly special. Lyra was beginning to understand why humans had survived on their death world. They were not just tough. They were designed to recover from anything. The third secret came on the observation deck. Late one evening, Tay had brought a puzzle with him. It was a small box with moving pieces that had to be arranged in a specific pattern. He said it was a gift from a friend on his last station. He had been trying to solve it for months without success. Lyra watched him work on it. His fingers moved the pieces around and around. Nothing seemed to fit. After an hour, he set it down in frustration. May I try? Lyra asked. Tay handed her the box. She examined it carefully. The pieces were complex, with many possible combinations. She tried several arrangements but made no progress. It is very difficult, she admitted. My friend said no one at our station could solve it. It has been passed around for years. Lyra was about to hand it back when Tay suddenly sat up straight. His eyes focused on the puzzle with new intensity. Wait, he said. Give it back. She handed him the box. He turned it over and over in his hands. His eyes moved rapidly, seeing connections that Lyra could not follow. His fingers began moving, sliding pieces into new positions. Click, click, click. In less than 5 minutes, the puzzle was solved. Tay stared at it in surprise. I do not know how I did that. What happened? I just saw it. All at once. The pattern became clear. He shook his head. This happens sometimes. Humans call it insight or inspiration. Our brains work on problems without us knowing, and sometimes the answer just appears. Lyra took the solved puzzle and examined it. The pattern was beautiful, complex but elegant. She never would have found it herself. Your minds are remarkable, she said. Human brains are good at finding patterns, Tay explained. It helped our ancestors survive. Recognizing the shape of a predator hiding in grass. Understanding the movements of prey. Predicting where food would grow. Our brains are always looking for connections, even when we are not aware of it. Lyra held the puzzle carefully. Endurance. Healing. Pattern recognition. 3 secrets revealed, and she suspected there were many more. That night, on the observation deck, she asked the question that had been forming in her mind for weeks. Tay, how do you bear it? He looked at her. Bear what? Feeling so much. Knowing you have so little time. Your lives are so short, yet you fill them with so much intensity. Does it not hurt? Tay was quiet for a long moment. He looked out at the stars, millions of lights scattered across the endless black. Sometimes, he admitted. Sometimes it hurts more than I can describe. But that is the trade, Lyra. We burn bright because we burn fast. Every moment matters because we have so few of them. I would rather feel everything for 80 years than feel nothing for 800. Lyra felt something shift in her chest. A warmth that had nothing to do with temperature. She looked at Tay's profile, outlined by starlight, and realized that she was not just studying him anymore, she was falling for him, and that terrified her more than anything she had learned about humans. Lyra was in her quarters, reviewing her notes on human biology, when the ship's emergency system activated. Red lights flashed along the walls, a loud siren filled the air. Then, the captain's voice came through every speaker. Attention all crew. Containment failure in Cargo Bay 7. Toxic gas leak detected. All personnel evacuate sections 12 through 15 immediately. This is not a drill. Lyra's blood ran cold. Cargo Bay 7 was where they stored experimental chemicals. If those containers had broken, the gas could spread through half the ship within minutes. She grabbed her emergency mask from the wall mount and ran into the corridor. Crew members were everywhere, moving quickly toward the safe zones. Some were calm. Others were panicking. The empathic waves of fear hit Lyra like physical blows. She stumbled, overwhelmed by the emotions of hundreds of frightened beings. Then she felt something else, something cutting through the fear like a knife. Determination, focus, purpose. She turned toward the source of that feeling. Kang Tay was running in the wrong direction. He was heading toward Cargo Bay 7, not away from it. His face was set, his jaw tight. He moved through the crowd like water through rocks, slipping past panicking crew members without slowing down. Tay, Lyra shouted. What are you doing? He paused for just a moment. The containment doors are not closing. Someone has to seal them manually, or the gas will spread to the whole ship. That is suicide. The gas is lethal. I know. He met her eyes. In that moment, she saw no fear in him, only acceptance. Get to the safe zone, Lyra. I will handle this. He ran before she could respond. Lyra stood frozen in the corridor. Around her, crew members pushed past, desperate to escape. But she could not move. She could not let him go alone. She followed him. The closer she got to Cargo Bay 7, the more the air changed. Even through her mask, she could smell something sharp and bitter. The corridor lights had turned yellow. Warning of contamination ahead. Most crew members had already evacuated this section. The halls were empty. She found Tay at the cargo bay doors. He was working at a control panel, his fingers moving rapidly over the buttons. Smoke was seeping through the gaps in the door. The toxic gas was visible now, a sickly green color that seemed to glow in the emergency lights. "I told you to evacuate," Tay said without looking up. "I could not leave you." He did not argue. There was no time. "The automatic systems are damaged. I have to go inside and seal the inner doors manually. That will contain the gas to the storage area. You cannot go in there. The gas will kill you. Humans can hold their breath for several minutes. I just need 90 seconds. Lyra grabbed his arm. "That is not enough time. The inner doors are at the far end of the bay. You will not make it." Tay finally looked at her. His eyes were steady, calm. "I will make it," he said, "or I will die trying. But I will not stand here and let everyone on this ship die because I was afraid." He pulled his arm free, took 3 deep breaths, filling his lungs with clean air, and opened the door. Green gas rolled out like a wave. Tay plunged into it and disappeared. Lyra watched through the window beside the door. She could barely see through the toxic fog, but she caught glimpses of Tay, moving fast, leaping over fallen containers, dodging broken equipment. The bay was in chaos. Fires burned in several places. Chemicals had spilled everywhere. The air itself seemed poisonous. But Tay kept moving. 30 seconds. He was halfway across the bay. His movements were still strong. 60 seconds. He reached the inner door control. His hands worked at the panel. Lyra could see his shoulders straining. 90 seconds. The inner doors began to close. Slowly. Too slowly. 100 seconds. Tay was still at the panel. His movements were becoming sluggish. The gas was affecting him. 120 seconds. The inner doors sealed with a loud clang. The gas stopped spreading. Tay collapsed. Lyra screamed his name. She ran to the emergency ventilation controls and activated the purge system. Fresh air rushed into the bay, pushing out the toxic gas. It would take minutes to clear completely. But she could not wait. She grabbed a portable oxygen tank from the wall, took a deep breath, and entered the cargo bay. The remaining gas burned her skin. Her eyes watered. Every instinct told her to run away. But she pushed forward. Following the path Tay had taken, she found him on the floor beside the inner doors. He was not moving. Lyra pressed the oxygen mask to his face and dragged him toward the exit. He was heavier than she expected. Her muscles screamed in protest. But she did not stop. When she pulled him through the outer door, a medical team was waiting. They took Tay from her arms and placed him on a stretcher. A Velan medic pressed instruments to his chest, his neck, his head. "He is alive," the medic reported. "Barely. Severe smoke inhalation. Chemical burns to the lungs. We need to get him to surgery now." They rushed him away. Lyra tried to follow, but her legs gave out. She collapsed against the wall, coughing, her own body finally reacting to the gas she had breathed. A hand touched her shoulder. She looked up and saw Park Yuna, the human medic she had seen around the ship. Yuna was already checking her vital signs with quick, professional movements. "Easy," Yuna said. "You breathed some of that gas too. Not as much as Tay, but enough. We need to get you checked out." "Is he going to survive?" Lyra asked. Yuna hesitated. That hesitation said everything. "We will do everything we can." They took Lyra to the medical bay. A different section from where they were treating Tay, but close enough that she could feel the frantic emotions of the surgical team through the walls. Fear. Concentration. Hope. Hours passed. Yuna came to check on Lyra regularly. Each time, she had no news about Tay. The surgery was ongoing. His lungs were badly damaged. His body was fighting the chemical poisoning. "How long can humans survive conditions like that?" Lyra asked during one visit. Yuna sat beside her bed. "Longer than you would think. We are stubborn creatures. We do not give up easily." Tay said something similar, about persistence. He was right. Humans are persistence predators. We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. That same instinct makes us fight when others would surrender. Yuna smiled sadly. Tay will fight. He is too stubborn not to. Commander Dren visited later that night. The stern Velen looked different than usual, softer, humbled. The humans saved this ship, he said. 12 crew members were still in the contaminated sections when the gas leaked. The containment he activated gave them time to escape. Without his actions, we would have lost dozens of lives. Perhaps hundreds. He nearly died, Lyra whispered. He chose to risk his life for beings he barely knew, many of whom had looked down on him for being human. Dren shook his head. I was wrong about his species. I underestimated them. He left without saying more. The next morning, the medical team finally let Lyra visit Tay. He was unconscious, lying in a healing pod that bathed his body in regenerative light. His skin was pale. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. Tubes connected him to machines that monitored his vital signs, but he was breathing, slowly, steadily. Lyra sat beside the pod and took his hand through the access port. His fingers were warm. That warmth meant he was alive. What other secrets are you hiding, human? She whispered. Tay did not answer. But his hand twitched slightly, as if responding to her touch. Lyra held on and refused to let go. Lyra was there when it happened. She had barely left the medical bay since the accident. Her colleagues had brought her food and work to do. Her supervisor had given her special permission to remain. Everyone on the ship knew why she stayed. His eyes opened slowly, blinking against the soft light of the healing pod. For a moment, he looked confused, uncertain where he was. Then his gaze found Lyra, and he smiled. You look terrible, he said. His voice was rough and weak. Lyra laughed despite herself. You nearly died? And that is the first thing you say? Someone has to keep you humble. She wanted to yell at him. She wanted to tell him how stupid he had been. Running into that gas. Risking his life for people who barely knew his name. But instead, she just held his hand tighter. Do not ever do that again, she said. I cannot promise that. Tay's expression became serious. But I can promise to try my best to survive. The doctor said his recovery was remarkable. Even by human standards, he was healing fast. The chemical burns in his lungs were fading. His body was rebuilding the damaged tissue. Within a week, he was breathing without assistance. Within 2 weeks, he was walking around the medical bay. The entire crew treated him differently now. Before, he had been just another human, a curiosity to be observed from a distance. Now, he was a hero. Crew members stopped him in the corridors to thank him. They brought him gifts of food and small tokens of appreciation. Commander Dren personally visited to express the ship's gratitude. Tay seemed uncomfortable with the attention. He deflected praise, saying he had only done what needed to be done. But Lyra knew the truth. He was embarrassed by the recognition because he genuinely did not think he had done anything special. That humility made her admire him even more. As Tay recovered, their conversations deepened. They spent long hours together, talking about everything and nothing. Lyra learned about his childhood on Earth, in a place called Korea. He described mountains and oceans, cities that glowed at night, and forests thick with life. He spoke of seasons that changed, snow that fell from the sky, and storms that shook the ground. But most of all, he spoke of his grandmother. She raised me after my parents died, Tay said one evening. They were sitting in the ship's arboretum, a small garden where plants from different worlds grew together. I was only 8 years old. She was already old herself, but she took me in without hesitation. What was she like? Lyra asked. Strong, stubborn, kind in ways she would never admit. Tay smiled at the memory. She taught me everything I know. How to work hard. How to keep going when things are difficult. How to fix things instead of throwing them away. She sounds remarkable. She was. Tay's voice softened. She died 6 years ago. Natural causes. She was 94. Che's voice. Che's voice 7. Tay's voice softened. Che's voice softened. I am sorry. Do not be. She lived a full life. She saw me graduate from engineering school. She saw me get my first job. She was proud of me. He paused. I think about her every day. Tay reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. It was a flat rectangle, worn around the edges. He handed it to Lyra. It was a photograph. An actual physical image printed on paper. It showed an old woman with white hair and deep wrinkles. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. Beside her stood a younger Tay, smiling widely. This is a photograph, Lyra said, examining it carefully. I have heard of these, but I have never seen one. Valans use holographic records. Holograms are better in most ways, Tay admitted. But there is something special about a physical photograph. It is an object you can touch. It carries weight. It feels real in a way that light cannot. Lyra understood what he meant. There was something powerful about holding the image in her hands. It connected her to a moment, decades in the past. To a person she would never meet. Why do humans hold on to physical objects so strongly? She asked. Because we lose things so easily, Tay replied. Our lives are short. People we love die. Moments pass and never return. Physical objects help us remember. They are anchors to our past. Lyra thought about this. Velans lived for centuries. They did not cling to objects because they had time. Endless time. But humans knew that every moment was precious, because it would never come again. Tell me about Valan relationships, Tay said, changing the subject. How do your people find partners? Lyra set down the photograph carefully. Valan bonds are arranged. When we reach maturity, our families consult genetic databases to find the most compatible match. We meet our partners, evaluate the connection, and if it is suitable, we bond for life. That sounds very logical. It is efficient. Genetic compatibility ensures healthy offspring and stable partnerships. Emotional compatibility is considered, but it is secondary to practical concerns. Tay nodded slowly. And love? Do Velans fall in love? Lyra hesitated. This question touched something deeper. Something she was not sure she wanted to examine. We feel affection, she said carefully. We care for our partners and families. But the intense romantic love that humans describe, we consider it unnecessary. Perhaps even dangerous. Why dangerous? Because it is irrational. It makes people do foolish things. They pursue relationships that are unsuitable. They sacrifice their own well-being for another person. They let their hearts overrule their minds. Tay was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, Have you ever felt it? That kind of love? Lyra's heart beat faster. She could not lie to him. She did not want to. I think I am beginning to, she whispered. The words hung in the air between them. Tay's eyes met hers. She could feel his emotions through her empathic sense. Surprise, warmth, and something deeper. Something that matched what she was feeling. Lyra, you do not have to say anything, she said quickly. I know it is strange. We are different species. Our lifespans are incompatible. A relationship between us would be irrational by every measure. I do not care about rational. Tay reached out and took her hand. His touch was warm and gentle. Humans do not love with our heads, we love with our hearts. And my heart has been drawn to you since the first day we met. Lyra felt tears forming in her eyes. Velans did not cry often. Tears were considered a loss of control. But she could not stop them. Your life is so short, she said. If I bond with you, I will lose you. Eventually, I will be alone. For centuries. That is true, Tay acknowledged. I cannot give you forever. But I can give you now. Every day we have together. Every moment. And I promise you, Lyra, I will make those moments worth remembering. He reached into the soil beside them and pulled out a small plant. It had green leaves and a single red flower. The petals were delicate, arranged in a spiral pattern. This is a rose, Tay said, A flower from Earth. I have been growing it since I came aboard. It symbolizes love in human culture. But it also has thorns. He showed her the small, sharp points along the stem. The thorns represent the pain that comes with love. The risk. The possibility of being hurt. He placed the rose in her hand. Love is accepting the thorns along with the petals, he said. It is choosing to feel deeply, knowing that it might cause pain. Humans believe that is what makes it beautiful. Lyra looked at the rose. Such a fragile thing. A flower that would wilt and die in days. But right now, in this moment, it was perfect. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. A Valen gesture of deep intimacy. Tay closed his eyes and accepted it. Show me, Lyra said. Show me how humans love. Tay smiled and wrapped his arms around her. And in that small garden, surrounded by plants from 100 worlds, two beings from different stars found something neither had expected. They found each other. The Galactic Union's High Council wanted a report on humanity. Dozens of human crew members had been assigned to Union vessels over the past decade, and the Council wanted to understand this new species better. They chose Lyra to present her findings because of her extensive research and direct experience with a human subject. She stood outside the council chamber, her hands trembling slightly. Inside that room sat representatives from the 12 founding species of the Union. Ancient beings, with thousands of years of collective wisdom, they had seen civilizations rise and fall. They had witnessed the birth of stars and the death of worlds. They would judge her report and, through it, judge all of humanity. The doors opened. The council chamber was vast, designed to inspire awe. Seats rose in tiers around a central platform, filled with beings of every shape and size. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no recognizable features at all. Their eyes, dozens of them in various forms, all turned toward Lyra as she walked to the center. Commander Dren was there as well, seated among the observers. He gave her a small nod of encouragement. Lyra took a deep breath and began. Honored council members, I have been asked to present my findings on the species known as humanity. Over the past several months, I have conducted extensive research, including direct observation of a human subject aboard the research vessel Harmony. She activated a holographic display. Images of Tay appeared, along with charts and data. Physically, humans are remarkable in several ways. They possess extraordinary endurance. A healthy human can engage in continuous physical activity for hours without rest. Their ancestors were persistence hunters who tracked prey across vast distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. The council members murmured among themselves. Endurance was valued by many species, but few could match what Lyra was describing. Humans also possess advanced healing capabilities. Minor injuries that would incapacitate other species for weeks heal in days for humans. Even severe damage to internal organs can be repaired naturally over time. Their bodies are constantly regenerating themselves. More murmurs. A representative from the Torvax species, known for their fragile constitutions, leaned forward with obvious interest. Additionally, human brains demonstrate exceptional pattern recognition. They can identify connections and solutions that other species miss. This ability allowed them to develop advanced technology despite their short history as a spacefaring civilization. Lyra paused. She looked around the chamber at the watching faces. These facts were impressive, but they were not the most important thing she had learned. However, she continued, I must tell you that none of these physical traits are humanity's true secret. The chamber went quiet. I spent months studying human biology, cataloging their abilities, measuring their performance, but I was looking at the wrong things. I was so focused on what humans can do with their bodies that I missed what they can do with their spirits. She changed the holographic display. Now it showed video footage from the cargo bay incident. Tay running into the toxic gas. Tay sealing the doors. Tay collapsing after saving the ship. This human risked his life to save beings he barely knew. Many of those beings had looked down on him, dismissed him as a primitive from a death world. Yet when danger came, he did not hesitate. He ran toward the fire while others ran away. Lyra's voice grew stronger. I asked him why. He said it was the right thing to do. He said he could not stand by and let people die when he had the power to help. He said that was simply what humans do. She looked around the chamber. And I believe that is humanity's true secret. Not their endurance, not their healing, not their pattern recognition. Their secret is their spirit. She stepped forward, her silver skin glowing in the chamber lights. Humans love fiercely. They love their families, their friends, their partners, their children. They love ideas and dreams and hopes. They love despite knowing that the objects of their love will eventually be lost. They love because they have so little time, and they refuse to waste it on indifference. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Velons in particular seemed troubled by this talk of irrational emotion. Humans fight relentlessly. Not just in battle, but in everything they do. They fight against disease, against injustice, against the limitations of their own bodies. When they are knocked down, they get back up. When they are told something is impossible, they try anyway. Their entire history is a story of beings who refuse to accept defeat. Lyra's voice rose, and humans hope endlessly. This is perhaps the most remarkable thing about them. They face a universe that is vast and cold and indifferent to their existence. They know that their lives are brief sparks in an eternal darkness, and yet they hope. They hope for better futures. They hope for connection with others. They hope that their short lives will have meaning. She paused to collect herself. I asked a human once how he bears it. Feeling so much. Knowing he has so little time. He told me that humans burn bright because they burn fast, that every moment matters because they have so few of them. Lyra turned to face Commander Dren directly. Humanity is not remarkable because of their bodies. They are remarkable because of their souls. They face a universe that does not care for them, and they care anyway. That defiance, that stubborn insistence on finding meaning in an indifferent cosmos, that is their greatest secret. That is why they survive. That is why they will continue to survive long after many of us have forgotten how to truly live. She bowed her head. That concludes my report. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, applause began. Not from all the council members, but from many. Commander Dren was among the first to stand. Others followed. After the session ended, Lyra walked out of the chamber in a daze. She had said things she had never planned to say. She had defended humanity with a passion that surprised even herself. She found Tay waiting in the corridor outside. I watched the broadcast, he said. The whole ship did. Lyra felt her cheeks warm. I hope I did not say too much. You said exactly the right amount. Tay took her hands in his. I have never heard anyone describe my people that way. Most aliens focus on our flaws, our violence, our short lifespans, our irrational emotions. Those things are part of you too, Lyra admitted. But they are not all of you. And the good parts, Tay, the good parts are magnificent. He pulled her into an embrace. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his human heart. You really think those things about us? He asked quietly. About me? I think those things about you, she replied. And I believe them about your entire species. They stood there together as crew members passed around them, some smiling, some whispering to each other. The story of the Velan, who defended humanity to the High Council, would spread quickly. It would change things, perhaps not immediately, perhaps not dramatically, but change would come. Humans were no longer just curiosities from a death world. They were beings worthy of respect. And Lyra was proud to be the one who helped the galaxy see that. 6 months had passed since the High Council presentation. The research vessel Harmony had completed its mission and was returning to Union space. For many crew members, this meant new assignments, new ships, and new adventures. For Lyra, it meant facing a choice she had been avoiding. She stood in her quarters, looking at 2 documents displayed on her screen. The first was a reassignment notice. Her homeworld had requested her return. Her research period was complete, and her family expected her to resume her duties. To find a suitable genetic match. to begin the next phase of her life as a proper Valan. The second was a transfer request. Tay had been offered a position on the New Dawn, a frontier exploration vessel heading into uncharted space. The mission would last years. The dangers were unknown, and he had asked her to come with him. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she said. The door opened, and Park Yuna stepped inside. The human medic had become a close friend over the past months. She had a way of speaking directly that Lyra found refreshing. "Still staring at those documents?" Yuna asked. "I cannot decide." Yuna sat on the edge of Lyra's bed. "What is there to decide? You love him. He loves you. Go with him. It is not that simple." "Why not?" Lyra turned away from the screen. "My family expects me home. They have already begun searching for a genetic match. If I reject their plans, I will shame them. I will be seen as irrational, emotional, contaminated by human influence. Would that be so bad? On my world, yes. Velans prize logic above all else. Emotional decisions are seen as weaknesses. If I choose Tay, I will be choosing a path my people do not understand. I may never be fully accepted again." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "Let me tell you something about humans. We make stupid decisions all the time. We fall in love with people we should not. We chase dreams that others say are impossible. We risk everything for moments of happiness. And yes, sometimes we get hurt. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we end up alone." She stood and walked to where Lyra stood. "But the humans I have known who lived the best lives were not the ones who played it safe. They were the ones who took chances, who followed their hearts even when their heads told them to stop. They lived with passion and died with no regrets." Yuna placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Tay is not perfect. No human is. But he loves you in a way that is rare and precious. If you walk away from that, you may never find it again. Is that worth the approval of people who will never understand what you gave up?" Lyra did not answer, but the words sank deep into her heart. That evening, she found Tay on the observation deck. Their place. The spot where they had shared so many conversations, so many questions, so many quiet moments, watching the stars. He was alone, looking out at the endless black. His silhouette was outlined by distant suns, a small figure against the vastness of space. "You have been avoiding me," he said without turning around. "I have been thinking. About us? About everything." Lyra walked to stand beside him. They watched the stars together in silence. "I received my transfer approval today," Tay said finally. "The New Dawn leaves in 3 weeks. It will be a long mission. 5 years minimum. Maybe more. I know. I want you to come with me. But I will not ask you to sacrifice your world for me. That would be selfish." Lyra turned to face him. "And if I want to be selfish?" Tay looked at her. Hope flickered in his eyes, but he kept it controlled, guarded. "Lyra, I meant what I said in the Arboretum. I will make whatever time we have together worth remembering. But I know what you would be giving up. Your family. Your people. Your entire way of life." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "I would be giving up everything I was taught to value." She took his hand. "But I would be gaining something my people never taught me existed. Something I did not know I needed until I met you." "What is that?" "A reason to feel alive." Tay's careful guard broke. His face transformed with joy and relief and love all mixed together. He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "Are you sure?" he whispered against her hair. "I need you to be sure." "I have one more question," Lyra said, "and then I will be sure. Ask me anything." She pulled back to look at his face. This human face that had become so dear to her. These warm brown eyes that saw her not as a research subject, but as a partner. "Will you show me more of your secrets, human? All of them? For as long as we have?" Tay smiled. The smile she had come to love. The smile that made her feel warm, in ways that had nothing to do with temperature. "Only if you show me yours," he replied. Lyra laughed. A real laugh, free and joyful. "Then we have a deal, Kang Tay. 3 weeks later, they stood together in the docking bay of the New Dawn. The ship was smaller than the Harmony but built for exploration. It hummed with energy and possibility. The crew was a mix of species, humans, and aliens working together. Several of them nodded to Tay as he passed. He had become well known after the cargo bay incident. The human who ran into fire to save others. The man who proved that humanity was more than just another species from a death world. Lyra had sent messages to her family. She had tried to explain her choice in terms they might understand. Logic. Research. The value of understanding humans on a deeper level. She did not know if they believed her reasons. She suspected they did not. But they had accepted her decision with the cool dignity typical of Velans. She had also received a private message from Commander Dren. "Your report changed how many of us see humanity," he had written. "Perhaps your life with one of them will teach us even more. I wish you well, Lyra. And I hope you find what you are looking for." Now she stood at the entrance to the New Dawn, her belongings packed in 2 small bags. Tay stood beside her, his own bags over his shoulders. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra looked back one last time. The docking station stretched behind them, filled with ships and beings from across the galaxy. Somewhere out there was her homeworld, her family, the life she had been expected to live. She turned away. Ready. They walked onto the ship together. The doors closed behind them. Inside, crew members bustled about, preparing for departure. Screens showed star charts and course projections. The captain's voice came over the speakers, welcoming everyone aboard and announcing that launch would commence in 1 hour. Tay took Lyra's hand as they walked through the corridors. "I should warn you," he said. "Exploration vessels can be dangerous. Uncharted space, unknown species, unexpected problems. Are you prepared for that?" Lyra squeezed his hand. "I fell in love with a human. I think I can handle a little danger." Tay laughed. That warm, unexpected sound she had first heard in the cafeteria so many months ago. They found their quarters. A small room with a window looking out at the stars. Not much space, but enough for 2. Lyra set down her bags and looked around. This would be her home now. Their home. Tay came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "I want to show you something," he said. He led her to the window. Outside, the stars burned in their ancient light. Millions of them. Billions. Each one a sun with its own worlds. Its own possibilities. "Out there," Tay said, "there are things no one has ever seen. Wonders we cannot imagine. And we get to find them together." Lyra leaned back against him. "I came aboard this ship looking for human secrets," she said. "I never expected to find so much more." "What did you find?" She turned in his arms to face him. "I found you. I found love. I found a new way to see the universe." She smiled. "I found a reason to live, not just exist." Tay kissed her, soft and gentle and full of promise. When they parted, Lyra looked out the window again. The stars were waiting. The unknown was calling. And for the first time in her long life, she felt truly ready to answer. The New Dawn launched 1 hour later. It carried a crew of explorers, scientists, and dreamers into the uncharted reaches of space. Among them were a human engineer who had learned that love was worth any risk, and a Velan researcher who had discovered that the greatest secrets were not found in data but in the heart. Together, they flew toward the stars. Together, they began their new adventure. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, the universe watched with something that might have been approval. Because even in the coldness of space, even in the indifference of eternity, love had found a way. It always does,